Hi, my name is Lena, and today I'm going to be doing a Costa Rica travel guide. I got back from Costa Rica about 3 weeks ago, and I figured I would share some of the things that I learned while I was there with people who might be going to Costa Rica or are planning on going to Costa Rica already. I'm going to be breaking down this video into 3 parts. First part is going to be places to visit, second part is going to be what to wear / what to bring, and then the third part is going to be more general tips about the country itself, like roads, exchange rates, car rentals, etc., things like that, that I feel that we would have really liked to know before we went, and that I feel like might be useful for you to know as well. Just so you know, I am sitting off to the side here because I am going to be putting some footage and pictures of the things that I am talking about while I am doing it. I don't know, here's going to be some footage. And just so you know, some of that footage is going to be kind of compiled and put together into a more cinematic-ish film about Costa Rica. So if you are interested in watching that, it might already be on my channel. I'm not sure if I'm uploading it before or after this video, but yeah, if you are interested in that, be sure to go check it out. And anyway, there's a lot to talk about in this video, and I feel like this intro is already long enough, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get into the video. Alright, so first things first is places to visit, and I have my notebook here with a whole bunch of notes about that. First place I think you should visit is called La Paz Waterfall Gardens. This is a place where they have a whole bunch of animals, but in my opinion, the main attraction is really the waterfalls. So you pay $42 to get in, and once you're in, you can pay either for a restaurant meal or $14 for their buffet style meal, which was what we did. It was just much cheaper and it made sense. So animal-wise, they have a lot of animals. They have snakes and frogs and hummingbirds and butterflies and monkeys and felines and an aviary. If I missed any of them, I'll just insert it here. So the aviary was pretty cool. We got to kind of hold toucans in our hand and see all the bird species up close and personal. The felines and the monkeys, this was kind of one thing that did bother me about this place. It kind of felt like I was at a zoo. And the cages were much bigger than they are at a zoo usually, but even then the animals kind of looked sad, and you know. They do, however, claim that all of the animals are rescue animals, and that they plan on or hope to rehabilitate them sometime in the future. So I mean, that's good. I'm not sure if it's entirely true, but that was one part about the place that I did not like, and I feel like it's worth mentioning. They also have a typical Costa Rican house that you can walk through. It's like the typical floor plan and etc. You can taste some of their coffee. That's cool, but really the main attraction is the trails and the waterfalls. There is 5 waterfalls total, and you can walk through all the trails, and that was super nice. The trails weren't that busy when we were there, which was good. And then at the end, once you're done, a shuttle takes you back up to the entrance to the parking lot, washrooms, etc. So that was nice because we didn't have to walk the trails on the way back. But yeah, that is the first place. I'm gonna go ahead and move into the second place. So the second place is called Tortuga Island / Isla Tortuga in Spanish. And it is an island, obviously, but it is really remote and you can only get there by boat, and it is absolutely gorgeous. White sand beaches, it's barely been developed. I think it is definitely worth your time. However, it is on the pricier side of things. We paid about $145 with a company called Calypso Cruises, but they did include a lot. This was transportation from our hotel in San Jose to Punta Arenas, which was where the boat left from, then a 1 hour and a half boat ride to Tortuga Island, and then transportation all the way back to our hotel. They also included breakfast and lunch, which was a 4-course meal, and a snorkeling tour and a banana boat ride. On the island, they also had kayaks and paddle boards that you could rent at an extra cost, but it was fairly cheap. Overall, like, yes, $145 is quite a bit of money, but for what you're getting, it is so worth it. It's $145 per person, by the way, and on the boat there was about 50-ish people, which is really not a lot. Once you get to the island, you barely even notice. But yeah, that is the second place. I'm gonna go ahead and get into the next one. So this third place is called Manuel Antonio Park, and it is a national park where the animals are just kind of roaming free, which was super cool. It was not a zoo at all. You could just kind of spot them up on the trees, see monkeys, see sloths, which was super cool, and a whole bunch of bird species and etc. There's a lot of trails to walk through. You can definitely explore, and there's a whole bunch of different views that you can see. For us, it was way too hot and humid. We just kind of needed to get into the ocean. But thankfully, the main beach is only a 10 to 15 minute walk from the entrance of the park. So that's kind of what we did. We just bought some sandwiches outside. By the way, there's no food inside of the park whatsoever, like nowhere for you to buy from. So buy your food outside of the park and then go in. We just bought some sandwiches and some water bottles, and then we went straight to the beach, straight to the ocean because it was really hot. But yeah, the park itself is really pretty, lots of things to see. White sand beaches again. There is also, just so you know, other beaches that are not the main one. They're a bit less crowded, but the currents are stronger, so it's a little bit harder to swim in them from what they told us there. But yeah, that is the third location, and I am gonna go ahead and move into the fourth one. So this fourth place is located in La Fortuna, which is where the famous Arenal volcano is located. And the place itself is called the Tabacon thermal waters, and they're thermal waters obviously, slash like springs. And there's a whole bunch of waterfalls and pools that you can go into. The waters itself are heated underground by the magma from the volcano, and there's a whole bunch of minerals and good stuff in the water, I guess. Apparently it's like Costa Rica's largest network of thermal waters or something like that. There's a whole bunch of thermal waters in the same area, but apparently like a lot of the water is recirculated and it's not heated by the actual magma, so they're not like legitimate. So that's why I'm talking about the Tabacon ones, and that is the ones that we actually went to. So you have two options. You can either stay at the Shangri-La Hotel, and then that gets you entrance into the thermal waters, or you can just pay for a one-day pass, which is what we did. It cost us $85, but that included lunch and a locker. There's also other packages that include like dinner and lunch and other things, or you could just get the night entrance pass, whatever. But there's options that don't require you to stay at the hotel, and then you can still go in and enjoy the waters. They're super nice. I'm not really sure what kind of minerals are in them, but it's so relaxing, and it's super pretty, and you're kind of like in the rainforest, and overall I definitely do recommend that. We stayed in another hotel nearby in the same area because it was kind of far away from our hotel, so we stayed in another hotel, which is what a lot of people do. It was much cheaper. It was called the Volcano Lodge, and it was completely fine. We weren't staying in a ratty hotel or anything. So if you don't stay at the Shangri-La, there's so many other hotels nearby that will be cheaper and will help you save some money. Okay, moving on to the next one. Alright, the fifth and last destination that I'm going to be talking about is also in La Fortuna, which is the same area as the thermal waters, which is kind of why we stayed at a hotel. We did the thermal waters one day, stayed at a hotel, and then next day we went to this place, the Mistico Hanging Bridges Park, and there's a lot of things that you can do here. There's trails with the hanging bridges that you can go through, or there is horseback riding with the volcano view in the back. You can kind of go horseback riding over the hills and have the volcano nearby, or there is boat tours on the lake that is nearby. But what we did the trail slash hanging bridges tour. It was the self-guided tour. We paid $26 for that, and the walk itself took us around 2 hours. There is 10 regular bridges and 6 hanging bridges, and you can see obviously the whole ecosystem. You get to see a whole lot of the species. If you're lucky, you might get to see a monkey up in the trees. And we also did see a waterfall from one of the bridges. There's also a trail that will take you down closer to the waterfall. So overall, I thought that it was a pretty good place to go to. I would definitely recommend it if you're in that area. If you aren't, I know that there's a lot more hanging bridges, parks in Costa Rica that you can check out. Maybe if you're in a different area. I know that there's one in Monteverde called Salvatore Park, so you can definitely look into that. But that is it for the places that I think that you should go to. There is some other places that we did go to, but I didn't really think that it was worth recommending them. And obviously there's a whole bunch of other places that you can go in Costa Rica, but we didn't go to them, so I didn't really want to talk about them without knowing the full extent of what I was recommending, because I didn't get to go. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and move into the second part of this video, which is what to wear / bring / pack. The section of the video is really just what to pack, and I'm not going to tell you the obvious things like socks and t-shirts and things like that. I'm going to tell you the absolute essentials, things that you need to bring. And the first thing is bring a good raincoat, especially if it's the rainy season. And I'll talk about the seasons in the next part of this video, but for now, just remember to bring a good raincoat. When it rains in Costa Rica, it freaking pours, and if you do not have a good raincoat, chances are you're going to be soaked within like 5 minutes. Second thing also relates to the rain, and this is bring a dry bag or buy one if you don't have that already. I wish we'd known this because we didn't have a dry bag when we were there, and we ended up having to buy garbage bags to put our backpacks in when it like started raining. We literally had to put our backpacks in the garbage bag and carry the garbage bags with us. So if you can get a dry bag, like one of the ones that you kind of carry like a normal backpack, but they're dry bags, definitely get one of those. They're completely water repellent and it'll make your life so much easier. I was constantly stressing about my camera getting wet, even though it was in a Ziploc bag and a garbage bag, because it rained so much. And then the last thing, this is more so up to you, but I think for us it would have been really nice if we had some, and that is binoculars. When we would see like monkeys up in the trees or sloths like fairly high up, we would only really see like a black moving dot even with our glasses on. It would have been so much nicer to have binoculars and kind of be able to zoom in. So definitely do bring some if you're interested in seeing the wildlife there. It'll be super helpful. Those are all the things that I'm gonna name as like the essential things that I think that you should definitely bring. Obviously, like sunglasses, sunscreen, flip-flops, runners, swimsuit, etc. If I find a good packing list, I will definitely link it down below, but for now, those are all the things that I really do think that you absolutely have to bring with you. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and move into the more general tips of this video. General tip number 1 is know your seasons. So Costa Rica has 2 main seasons. There's the rainy season and then there's the dry season. The dry season goes from mid-November till about the end of April, and then the rainy season goes from May till mid-November. There is a bit of a difference between months, like May and July are both in the rainy season, but there is some difference to them. So I'm gonna leave a link down below so that you know more about that, the more like specifics, but for now I'm just gonna leave it as rainy and dry. So during the rainy season, there is some pros to it. It is much cheaper to travel, and the places that you go to are bound to be a lot less busy, but obviously it's gonna be pretty rainy. When we were on the Tortuga island, which I talked about before, it was raining basically the whole time. So, I mean, it is cheaper, but then there's also the downside of the rain, so it's really just up to you. Overall, we found that it was actually okay to go during the rainy season. It was kind of a bummer every once in a while, but it wasn't too terrible. It's doable. Obviously, it also depends how the weather turns out for you, but that is something that you should definitely consider when you're planning your trip. General tip number 3 also has to do with money. Have some spare change or like small bills of the local currency at all times. It's good to have, especially if you are driving. We found that there was random tolls like on the highway and things like that where it had to be like exact change or like very small bills that you had to pay with. So definitely have that handy if you are driving. And also if you are not driving, it's nice to give like people tips in like small local currency as opposed to US dollars. But do know that a lot of places do take US dollars, just not all of them, but most of them we found that they did take US dollars. Next tip is be aware of how much insurance costs if you are renting a car. We rented a car for a week and the total was $100. Obviously we had to pay for like gas on our own, but the insurance was more than 3 times that. It cost us $350 for the insurance. Apparently a lot of people in Costa Rica don't even have insurance because it's so freaking expensive, and we didn't really know that, so that was kind of something that we had to add to our budget that wasn't already there. So just be aware of that if you are renting a car. And then the next and last tip is get a dehumidifier from your hotel if you feel like your room is damp at all. we didn't really know this, and we kind of felt like our room was pretty humid and stuff, and then we came back one day and our clothes in the drawers that we hadn't even worn once were pretty freaking damp, and obviously they kind of start to smell because they're damp. So every hotel should have a dehumidifier. Apparently it's like a common thing to have there. So ask for a dehumidifier if you feel like your room is a little bit too humid. We wish we would have known that. So yeah, those are all the tips that I have. If I do think of any more, I will just leave them in the description down below for you to know. But I think that is it for this video. If you did like it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you would like. That would be super cool. And definitely keep your eyes open for my Costa Rica cinematic-ish film thing. I don't know if it's gonna be out before this video or after, like I said before, but definitely check it out if you would like to see the country in a more aesthetically pleasing kind of way. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great of your day or night or morning or whatever it may be.